What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Conscious Kitchen for another episode of Conscious Conversation. Today, we're discussing miscarriages. Miscarriages, the spontaneous loss of a woman's pregnancy, can be both physically and emotionally painful. More than 3 million US cases are reported per year. 1 in 4 of your friends has lost a baby due to a miscarriage. Today, I'm here to tell you that I have had 2 miscarriages in the last 2 years. I haven't talked about this publicly, and it is with incredible strength that I'm here today to share my side of the story. Miscarriages are common, but that doesn't make it any easier to process and heal from. Though there is a sense of community in this experience, once you share your story and hear others, miscarriages are one of life's obstacles that no one expects to go through until you're there. Today, we have a special episode for you. We will be discussing healing, processing, and the destigmatization of the loss of a baby. It takes 2 people to create life, and it takes 2 people to heal a relationship after a loss. With great admiration and love, I'd like to introduce today's guest, my husband, Christopher Dimaano, also known as Christopher Details. Thank you so much, baby, for being here and being open to sharing your side of the story with us. Miscarriage and loss are such complex experiences. We have really gone through a very unique time in the last few months, and I know that you have a lot of wisdom to share for our men listeners and our women as a window to the other side of miscarriage and loss. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thanks for having me. Hello, everyone in Conscious Kitchen world. Thanks for listening and thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's the first time you're here. Chris listens and tunes into every single episode,
Yep.
and it's exciting to be able to record an episode with him today.
Yeah, here I am. I'm excited and I'm willing to share what I have and build more community together and understand what's going on, and let's do this together.
Yes. So we have gone through 2 miscarriages. So we're releasing this information publicly for the first time. So there's a lot, I guess, to catch up people on. So Chris, do you want to jump into our first miscarriage?
Okay, yeah, so I guess me and Elizabeth had a baby come in 2 years ago around the same time as this past time, September 2018. We almost had a baby, but also in the same time frame, we pretty much had a miscarriage as well during that time.
Yes. What was crazy about it was that it was 2 years ago, and then 2 years later, we ended up getting pregnant in around the same exact time frame, which was really nuts. 2 years ago, when we had that miscarriage, it was unplanned. We weren't planning to have a family, but we had just gotten engaged, and the emotions were high, and things just happened. But we took it on, and we were scared, uh, apprehensive.
There are a lot of
But
things.
we decided to move forward with it. But we ended up losing that baby at between 6 and 8 weeks, right?
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks.
So that was really difficult for us. That first experience, can you tell us what you remember about that first experience being different from this one?
Yeah, that first time, since we weren't prepared, I was really nervous. I was ready to be a dad. I was driving different, going to the doctors with you. Luckily, I was able to do that pre-COVID. Um, Seeing the ultrasound, being in the hospital, it's all life-changing. I was going to be prepared to be a father with you, Liz, and I was really excited. And then when we found out, of course, it was extra heartbreaking because it was unforeseen and we didn't know why, and it was our first one, so it was definitely heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was super sad. It also happened on your birthday that year, and what a whirlwind. And after that miscarriage, Chris and I are both artists. We do photography, and we had a flurry of events planned after that miscarriage, and we just couldn't really stop. We had to keep going. So we did an art show in Mexico City, and then from there we went to New York, and we had all these trips planned that we healed, but it was a different healing experience in this time.
Yeah, it wasn't slow. It wasn't looked at this time around. The second time, if I can get into it already, we're a lot slower, a lot more focused. We're in COVID, so we're on pause. We're looking at each other. We just got married, so everything was more focused. We're a little bit more focused this year. So we're focusing on the pain and the heartache and the future. So now we're going to talk about on what we're going to do next and how we feel about it, and we're able to reflect this time a lot more.
Yes, yeah. This time, Chris and I had decided in the beginning of March that even though COVID was happening, life was super short, and we wanted to grow a family, and we just who knows what's promised for next year. So we were like, it's scary, but let's start trying to have a family. So we started in March, and nothing crazy. We weren't like super tabulating ovulation or anything crazy like that, but we just let it go naturally. And we finally got pregnant in August, we found out. And we kind of kept it hush hush because we had already had that first miscarriage and we didn't want to share the information prematurely. But something that I'll talk about in the future is that if you do want to share your information as soon as you get pregnant, you have every right to do so. Don't be fearful of it, but we'll talk about that more in the future or just in a few minutes. But so we ended up having like this little exciting baby, and we started preparing for, okay, started being really, really careful with our bodies and doing everything that we needed to do and prenatal vitamins, and we were planning a wedding in the middle of it throughout the entire time because we've been planning our wedding throughout COVID this entire time. So we took it, we weren't too stressed. I for myself, I really had myself prioritizing my health and not being stressed. But still, we ended up having a miscarriage at 10 weeks. I found out at our 12-week appointment, and like Chris said, he was unable to go to all of the doctor's appointments with me because of COVID, which was really different. So Chris wasn't able to see any of the ultrasounds that I had already had. I had already had 3 ultrasounds, but he wasn't able to see any of those. So it was a very different experience this time around. And I've always wondered, without you being, so the first time you saw the ultrasounds, this time you didn't see any of the ultrasounds. Did did that make it any less of a connection for you, or did the COVID experience not really make a difference?
Of course, in one way, at the beginning, I'm not there to see the ultrasound, but hearing the words from you and being with you is all I need, and that's all I need to know. So you come home with the information, and there's a baby in there, and that's all I'm thinking about.
Yes, yes. So we ended up finding out at 12 weeks that the baby had lost its heartbeat, even though we had already heard the baby's heartbeat at, I guess, at 8 weeks or something. 8 weeks. We had already heard a baby's heartbeat. Everything was going amazing. Chris and I were preparing to tell our family. We had gotten these really cute mementos in a way to share the information with them, and we were really excited. And then we got that news of I went to the doctor and I was there by myself, and the ultrasound technician was asking me questions, and I was just didn't really think anything of it. And then she said, I'm gonna go get the doctor. And I don't know, it felt funny. And when the doctor came in, I was still excited. I didn't think anything of it. I was seeing the baby in the ultrasound, and it was the first time that I could see like the baby's real body, like a little head and little shape. And I was so happy that everything was going well. And literally that week we planned to tell everyone because it was week 12. And then she came in and she shared the news with us, or I'm sorry, with me. And she just said, I have bad news for you. And as soon as she said that, it's like I couldn't hear anything at that point. Yeah.
That must have been really hard. I mean, being by yourself and hearing that kind of news, that's the worst news you can hear. It was a death. It was a death for one of our children. I mean, that's as hard as it gets.
Yeah. So I think, there's a recording that I did. So there's so many emotions that we're going to talk about today, but there's a recording that I did as soon as I got out of the doctor's office. And there's a lot of clarity and a lot of, I don't know, emotion that I'd like to share. It's really, really personal, but I think that by sharing it, maybe it'll just give someone, I don't know, just the words that they need to hear today. So right now we're gonna play either the entire thing or we're gonna just play a certain clip from that. But Chris is gonna listen to it for the first time. I haven't listened to it since the miscarriage happened, so we're just gonna listen to that and then just give you, I don't know, just jump in from there.
Wow. Fearless, huh? Good.
Yeah, that was hard to listen to. I haven't really listened to that since that day.
Of
But
course.
I would say that the thoughts and everything that I'm saying there have been echoing for the last 2 months now, huh?
Yeah, I would say so. The fearless part's brand new. I mean, they're pretty powerful. And to try to have your past self remind your future self, that's powerful.
Yeah, like I said, what else can we do in those moments? Wow. Um,
It's true.
what is it? What do you feel hearing that for the first time?
Well, half of it I knew, half of it I didn't. Yeah, it's nice to hear you pep talk yourself and see yourself in the future already and try to tell yourself and try to record and hold imprints of how you were feeling. That's pretty good. I don't know many people who do that. So I think it's helpful for the healing process and
Yeah,
reflecting to hear yourself and talk to yourself already.
yeah,
So that's a pretty big deal. I mean, it's like another type of journaling, but it's like
yeah,
memo journaling to yourself, messages from yourself, which you need. So you can't always remember what we're thinking, what we're saying, messages we want to give ourselves. It's the perfect way to do it. And yeah, I'm so sorry you were there in the car and you're looking for me, and because of COVID, I couldn't go. But
yeah. It's not your fault, but I do appreciate you saying that, and I wish you would have been there. Getting home, it was so hard. Just I sat in the car for a long time. Like I didn't text you. I didn't tell you what was happening. I obviously didn't want to tell you through text, and I really just wanted to get there, but I took a good amount of time just understanding everything, and I had to have blood work taken and just all the medical stuff that needed to happen ahead of that. But when I walked in and I told you that, what was that instant emotion, and how did you get past that first set of emotions?
I was at a loss. I was in shock. Like it didn't hit me like it was real. Watching you cry and break down with me, it makes me not do that. It makes me do the opposite. Be strong for you and try to understand what's happening and try to receive the information, which took hours, days, weeks,
Yeah,
all the above in different ways.
yeah,
But watching you cry and feel that way makes me stand up strong and be there for you, which is my job. So I
yeah.
hope I was able to do that, and you do the same for me when I'm feeling not the best either, especially dealing
Hmm.
with the miscarriage. And we deal with it differently. I'm a guy. I didn't hold the baby inside me, but trying to hold as close to you and as closest to the baby as I could during
Yeah.
those 10 weeks.
Yeah, and so that touches on a topic that I'd like to ask you about. As a man, had you given much thought to the physical aspects of pregnancy? What did you know about miscarriages? Had you heard of them? And did you ever think that that would happen to you or to us?
I know they happen. I know my mom has had some, and I know cousins have. So I know it's possible, but things happen to other people. You never think they're going to happen to you. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they never think they're going to happen to you. It happened to us once, so I was like, it's definitely not going to happen to us again. But it did, which is shocking, and it hurts. It hurts my ego, hurts my soul, hurts my heart, hurts my head. But I got to push through. I got to understand with you, and we learned so much information the second time around. You didn't stop researching and understanding and asking all the doctor's questions, and then it's relayed to me. So for me
Mm-hmm.
to understand. So I'm thinking about my own body and was it me? Was it you? So luckily we have insurance and resources to find out what's happening. So we got some
Right.
fetal testing results, and we have nice doctors talking to us on what's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
that helps us day by day. It helps me for who I am. I need information. How am I going to move forward? And then
Yes.
you remind me to reflect and to grieve. As a guy, I want to breeze by and I want to think about it and I don't want to feel, but I'm a different man. I'm a different man now. So I'm feeling and I'm reflecting with you and I'm grieving in my own way and for myself because I know it's important. Um, so for this time around, we're reflecting and we're thinking about it.
Did
And
those feelings, so you mentioned some feelings of maybe guilt, right? Did you catch yourself wondering, is it because of me? Is it something that I did? And how did you get past those feelings of guilt if you did have them?
of course, I had some of those feelings. Then I just think like, oh, my little guy's made it, so it might not have been me. But I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. So I just have to wait for the correct information from the
Hmm.
doctors and the scientists because I could be speculating all day and that's just going to hurt me. I don't want to be thinking about something that hurt me, especially if it's not necessary. So I'm the type to wait for the information, wait for the results, and take it from there.
Yes, that's true. It's like, waiting and trying to understand. Unfortunately, for some people, they might not have access to the health to good healthcare or to that particular system.
It's true.
What advice do you have for someone that might have those feelings as a man that might have those feelings of guilt? How can they get past that wondering?
Speaking up, community, like reach out to people who think I might have gone through that. So now we're here, so someone could reach out to me now and see
Hmm.
what's going on with me and information I know and feelings that I felt and thoughts that I had. Do they fall in line with that person's? And, I mean, human race, we're here to do this together, so let's talk about it together. Or search a little bit online, but don't solely look online because
Hmm.
the internet is a vast place in a black abyss. It might have all the right information, but it has all the wrong information too.
Yeah, so I think that you bring up a really important topic, which is the aspect of community. And this time around, we've approached the miscarriage in such a different way. The last time we only told a few people, our really close friends. Um, this time we really took the aspect of community further. Like the community aspect really helped us heal, hearing people's stories. So on my end, I opened up to my mother about the miscarriage because the first one I didn't tell her about initially because I didn't want her to have sadness. My mom is like such a happy, loving person. I just didn't want for her to feel that sadness, and I wanted in a way to shelter her from it. But in sheltering her from it, I realized that I did myself a disservice because I wasn't able to find out my mom's stories about miscarriages. She didn't have any, but she ended up telling me that my grandmother had had 6 miscarriages before she gave birth to her 12 kids. And one of my father's cousins had had 4 miscarriages, and she encouraged me to speak to them about it. And it really helped me so much to just hear from the elders their experience and just get their feedback and feel the community because I know that this is common. 1 in 4 women are going to experience this experience, but who do you talk to about it? Because no one's talking about it. I don't know who has had a miscarriage. So when I was like looking at my Rolodex, not really Rolodex, but my cell phone, and being like, who could I text and reach out to see if they've gone through this? Like I need to talk to someone. I realized I couldn't find that info because everyone keeps this to themselves. So for you, you've also been open about this as well. You've opened up about it to your male friends, to your father. Tell me about that. How, what was that? How did it feel talking to them about it? What was their reaction? Just kind of get into that community of sharing for men and men.
Guys are really straightforward. I tell them what happened. They kind of just listen and say okay, and they don't have much advice. They don't have they don't have much heartfelt things to say back. They're kind of just listeners. Yeah, I can think back to all the people I told, which is my close friends, because they tell me, "When's the baby coming? When's the baby coming?" And I kind of just respond properly, but I do let them know that me and Liz have had 2 miscarriages, and we just had one
Mm-hmm.
recently, right before the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Guys didn't say much.
Yeah,
They must have just listened, said okay, said this is what it's supposed to happen at the most, and then
right.
we would
But I
just
think
carry.
I think that that is okay. I
It's
think
okay.
because we don't always have to say something, and holding space is something that we learned from from a guest that will come out in January, the Revolutionary Women. They talk a lot about just holding space for people, not really having to say or give advice or say something. Really just listening can be so beneficial. Because on my side of things, last time when I did open up to a few people, they said the wrong things, and I felt so terrible after. Like
Hmm.
comments like, well, oh, you don't really have that much work happening right now anyway, so maybe it's better. like, no,
No,
no, but like people say those kind of things. At that point, yeah, I don't,
no.
yeah, I think, if somebody approaches you with this information, either you hold space for them or you give them compassionate messages to let them know that you're there for them. That's all we needed from people, right? And from the community is to just listen and be there and know that we're going through something.
And that's what those guys did for me. I would say
Yes.
fully.
Perfect.
Hmm.
Yes. And so for other men, when they're sharing this with their friends, just do you have any advice for sharing? How can they open up the conversation? Just go into it.
Go into it. Share. I mean, sharing is everything. Most men aren't going to speak, so that's the first step and almost the last step, which is speaking up and talking and sharing and expressing. Let's do it. Like
Hmm.
once you do that, it comes out. It's going to come out of your soul, come out of your spirit, and that's what we're supposed to do. We don't want to hold it in. We don't want to hold this in anymore, guys. Let it go. Let's talk about it and
Yes.
share our stories and share our strengths and share everything.
Yeah, I think in sharing this experience, it'll make it easier for other people to find their community. I know it helped me so much to talk about it, and even for you, it helped you to talk about it this time too. But if we all start opening up about these experiences, we'll all be connected so that when someone goes through a miscarriage, please reach out to me. Please reach out to Chris. Like, if we all can start this dialogue, we'll all find that sense of community that really can be so helpful.
It's true, and because of the stigma and the somewhat shame of losing a baby,
Yeah.
how do you think we can change that? By sharing this information, which we plan on doing, sharing our stories. What else?
I think also, I think this is a lesson for the world in general. And this isn't, and if any of my friends are listening and you've asked me before why, like, about babies, it's okay. I don't take this personally, but for other people, when you ask them like when are you guys having a baby? When's the baby coming? Or ask them, pressure them on questions about having babies, you don't know what they're going through. They might have just had a miscarriage. Maybe they have fertility problems. Maybe they are unable to conceive. But pushing that, especially like the older generation, pushing that and just pushing people in that regard is not really compassionate. It's not something that helps people. So I think all these things, right? Sharing our story, learning how to be more compassionate speakers, holding space when someone does tell us that they've gone through something like this. Yeah.
Good.
What else? What else do
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah. Holding space, listening. I mean, talking and listening sounds like what we're supposed to be doing
Mm-hmm.
with difficult times and difficult issues, and this being one of them. So we're starting the conversation now. We're putting it online. We've been talking to people left and right. Only
Mm-hmm.
if they're asking, of course. We're not coming up and just telling them I had a miscarriage, of course. But
Right.
because of the wedding, and they're saying what comes next, they say, "Where's the baby?" Because I'm getting a lot of congratulatory wedding greetings, and then they say, well, "When's the baby?" So I respond nice and
Mm-hmm.
nice. Oh, yeah, the wedding was great, and then oh, we almost had a baby, and they do
Mm-hmm.
listen, and some of the guys are really sweet, and most of them are really sweet, and I thank them for it.
That's good. Yeah, that's great. I think in sharing the miscarriage, I know a lot of the reasons why I didn't share the miscarriage in the past was because of the shame that you might get, I guess, feeling like it was your fault, feeling like I shouldn't have gone on that hike, feeling like I didn't take my prenatal vitamins, or she lost her baby because she's vegan, or she lost her baby because
Hmm.
she's planning her wedding. And I was so afraid of like hearing that, like having people like say that to me, like, "Oh my God, well, she was planning her wedding. Like maybe she was really stressed." Like, no, stop telling people that. Stop telling people that they're losing babies because of stress. That's to me, it's like it's such a trigger now whenever I hear that. It's not because you are stressed. Like, yeah, maybe for some people because of their body it might be that, but stress is not going to make you lose your baby. There's other reasons why like you lose a baby, and that's not why. I'm healthy. There's nothing wrong with my vegan lifestyle or doing anything like that, and I was afraid of the shame with that. But I had to get past that to be able to just put this information out there and even get past like my own shame, my own fear of being like, "Oh, was it that or was it this?" Like, no, it wasn't those things. This is just what occurred for us. And and yeah, we have a new set of questions and a new set of things that we're going to embark on to grow our family because it's something that's important to us. I didn't want to have kids before. I don't know, Chris, did you want to always have kids?
I've always wanted to have kids. Have a couple, adopt a couple. Sounds right.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I really solidified that I wanted kids once I met Chris because I
Woo!
I knew he was going to be such an amazing dad, and I want to contribute in that positive light force into the world. And so growing our family to me is important. So we are going to embark on a new journey. Not that we are going to need any particular fertility help, but I do have like some medical issues. I have some fibroids that we believe are just restricting the baby and the placenta from really attaching and growing. And so for me specifically, every time that a little baby attaches to your like uterus, it attaches to a different part of the uterus. It's totally random. It can go from the top, it can go at the bottom, on the side. My fibroid is up at the top of my uterus, so if any of the babies attach themselves to the top, it's likely that I will have a miscarriage. And so I'm faced with the decision of, do I want to keep going and trying, or do we want to keep trying and potentially have more miscarriages or go through with the surgery? But there's risks with the surgery and there's risks within the risks. So Chris and I are figuring that out, and I want to share our story closely with the internet because and with the world, right? Because the internet is the world now. And social media to me is important because I love the positive sides of social media, which is this creating community, putting yourself out there, being honest, creating compassion. So I want to share our story to growing our family. And if you follow us at Plant Like Things, I will definitely continue to share that information so that you guys can just see other stories because not every babies aren't just born and it's not just like, oh, you get pregnant and then they're born and everything is okay. There are there are struggles. There are people that try really hard to make it happen. And we should talk about that too.
Yeah, I agree. We're all different, different stories. This is our story, and let's all share our stories.
hmm Yeah, so was there any questions that you had for me that you wanted to get into from a male's perspective?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. So you kind of touched on it earlier when you did your message, but one of my questions for you is: after this happened to us, what would you tell your past self to help you cope better with this grieving process?
I think it was just what I mentioned in my voice memo to not be fearful. Because with this second pregnancy, I didn't let fear take over my mind, like fear of having the miscarriage, but it was definitely there. It would pop into my mind and I would breathe through it and push it away. But I think no matter what's gonna happen, I don't know what's gonna happen. The fear is something that I really want to let go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, to let go of that fear and to keep it away, you're a queen. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I know how you felt during both miscarriages, the heartache, the grieving, the fear, the insecurities. Was there anything else you didn't tell me before that you could tell me now?
There was something that I had in my mind before we started this conversation. What was it? Shoot.
Yeah, think about it. Yeah, you're so good that you answered almost all my questions in my that I created and prepared on your own. You kind of answered them all, even in your little voice memo. I'm like, is there anything you haven't told me yet? Oh, you showed me there.
Yeah, I guess that was,
I
yeah,
mean,
just me trying to stay honest.
you communicate so well, and I know what to. You make me know what to do, what we should have done, what we can do, and
Yeah, so there's a few more things I want to discuss before we move on. So sex after a miscarriage. For me, I remember last time it took me quite a few months to feel prepared and ready. I don't, I was very hesitant. And again, this time, even though we got married and we had this honeymoon and all this crazy thing, and there was all this pressure to like have sex, right? Because that's a part of getting married. I haven't felt ready, and you've been super supportive and understanding of that. I know that other women have had miscarriages and their husbands or partners haven't been understanding of that and they don't understand that. Can you give any advice to men facing that side of it?
I mean, it boils down to respect. I have to respect your wishes. I mean, I have needs, but I'll have to overcome those needs and push my mind and my body to fight my needs for. But I have to respect what your wishes are, and I have to wait patiently, and I have to wait patiently, and I have to talk to you about it. And
But just the asks or like the pressure, the mental pressure
mm,
to do it, not just yeah.
I mean, I have to listen. I listen to you intently. I'm listening when you ask something, and I'm listening. So I hold true to what you request, and I know what you're looking for when you're not looking for. So I'm just waiting, and I understand that I'm supposed to wait. And
Hmm.
if I ask too much or too little, I know when to ask. I'm a smart guy. I'm listening.
Yes, but
But
yes, that's good. And so for other men, the advice would be
yeah,
listen.
listen and respect your partner, and don't be pushy. Like understand where she's coming from, understand what her body's going through. Like just put myself in her shoes. That's what I do.
Hmm.
I know that you had the DNC procedure, and it's, that's a real procedure that something happened um,
Hmm.
down there. So I know
Hmm.
you want to feel comfortable. Sex is something you have to feel comfortable with. If you're not comfortable, you shouldn't be having sex. So
Hmm.
I'm waiting till you're comfortable and happy, and there you go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The DNC procedure, we haven't like chatted about that. That was definitely, it was something to go through. I had never gone through having a surgical procedure. Our little baby stayed with us for almost 3 weeks after the baby's heart stopped beating. And yeah, we made that choice because of the fibroid to do the DNC, and I think it just made it a little bit easier to not have to go through the hours and days of bleeding like I did from that first miscarriage.
I mean, we weighed the options
Yeah.
thoroughly. We think about these pros and cons and facts and everything very thoroughly. So we make these decisions with utmost mentality that we have to make
Mm-hmm.
a decision
Mm-hmm.
like that. And because of that, I know to listen to you and understand.
Yeah. I think too, what helped me is I chatted with people that had the DNC. Like I said, opening up that community and just hearing from people that had gone through this experience. There's also an app called Peanut that is all about just fertility and growing your family and all those things. And I was able to find community there too. And I was asking people about the DNC, and that was super helpful. So outside of to wrap things up, we're still healing, of course,
Hmm.
but we had a really good system for healing this time.
We did.
For you, what were the most healing parts of?
Making myself think about it, giving myself time to grieve and to think about it instead of avoiding it and ignoring it. To sit down and think about it, part of my meditation or just part of my day where I get to slow down. Like it's really important to slow down and reflect. And since that was a major part of our life that happened, I was paying attention and reflecting properly per your pushing and per your support, but also for myself.
Yeah. And for me, something that we did during the first miscarriage and the second miscarriage is I needed to do all the little things that are therapy to me. So we went kayaking because kayaking and being in the ocean and just being out there just with Chris is so healing to me. So we did some little ocean therapy. And then we did some little retail therapy in the sense of going and shopping at some thrift stores. And Chris and I took a little, I don't know, I think there's something called a baby moon. I'm not sure if I'm using that term correctly, but people like go on trips after having their baby or something like that. But Chris and I decided to take a solo trip to Arizona. And there it was good. We connected, we talked, we were with each other. It was just him and I, and that really helped me too. So therapy in the form of taking a little trip and being alone and connecting. The retail therapy of going to thrift stores and just, making myself feel happy with little things like that because we're humans and we need that type of happiness. And then journaling. Chris and I wrote letters to our babies both times. And to me, my letter was very much like a little love letter to baby, or I won't say our little baby's nickname. But was the journaling helpful for you as well? Because you also wrote your letters. And have you read them again?
I haven't read them again, but journaling is big. I don't do it as often as I should, but it's tied to meditating and writing your thoughts and writing your goals, and all that's very good. But I didn't read it again, but I know it was really good to write during that time, and I'd love to read it again.
Yes, yeah. I think we will, when it's time, because I know I reread the first letter that I wrote when I was writing the second one, and there's just so much love and feeling in it. And we love these little babies, and it's hard whether you have a miscarriage at 1 week or if you have a miscarriage at 20 weeks or at any point, having a miscarriage is difficult. And please don't diminish people's pain. Don't tell them, oh, well, at least it happened, it's still early. No, it's really difficult to go through having a miscarriage. Please just find ways to be more compassionate in the things that you say. And if you don't know what to say, just hold space and listen and tell them, listen, I'm here for you. If you need me to go get you pickles and hot sauce, I'll do that for you.
Perfect. Yeah, and that Instagram that you shared with me, I learned a lot. If you could help the listeners remember the Instagram name, but
Yes,
that one
yes.
that one told me everything basically.
Yeah, so there's an amazing Instagram account called I Had a Miscarriage, and it's run by Jessica Zucker. She is a psychologist specializing in reproductive and maternal mental health. And she actually has a book coming out in March, and she will actually be on the podcast in February. So we're going to have her here to talk to us about just getting through miscarriages and her experience and all the PhD knowledge that she can share with us. So I had a miscarriage on Instagram is super helpful. They share, like Chris said, so many facts, lots of helpful information, just helping to destigmatize and let people know that you're not alone, because you're not alone. Me and Chris are here for you, and there's millions of other people out there that are also here for you.
We are here for you.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. Perfect. Well, yeah, then I think that wraps up this amazing episode. And Laura and I will be doing a quick little recap at the end of this episode to go over just some key takeaway items and just some things that we both would like to add to this episode since we're doing this new format. But it's been lovely. I really appreciate you so much, baby. Thank you so much for being here with us today, speaking openly, candidly, and just sharing your truths and honesty here.
Thank you, Amor. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Shout outs Conscious Kitchen. Shout outs Laura Fama. You guys do such a great job. I hope to help heal and connect with other people who have gone through miscarriages. And we're here for you. And I appreciate all of you.
Yes, and you can find Christopher at Plant Like Things with me. Chris, he also posts on there, but you can also find his art and photography, visual art at Christopher Details
Yep.
on Instagram.
Christopher Details on Instagram. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and your website as well, right? So just in case anyone wants to reach out to you, they can find you on Instagram and your website.
Everything Christopher Details. Christopher Details is my website, TikTok, Tumblr, Instagram, everything.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. It's been lovely. That closes it up. Bye,
Thanks.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, this is Laura, Liz's co-host. Nice to finally get to listen to that amazing audio that you guys did. I feel very grateful to be able to be part of this podcast and know that you guys, in general, we're putting out really informative information that I feel like people need to hear, and it brings our community closer. That something as vulnerable that you and Chris went through is very heartfelt and special. That let people know that they're not alone in this journey of life.
Yes, yeah. I mean, why we started the podcast was to put information out there that would help people and build that community, because there are people in remote places of the world and even remote places of the United States that might not have the type of support that we have. So being able to share our stories is really, really important. And even though it's a nerve-wracking experience to share something so intimate and personal, we took that opportunity to just put it out there, and hopefully it's received and used as helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in this day and age, you see more like virtually, people buying new homes or people having their new babies, or hey, it's a boy or a girl, like,
Mm-hmm.
baby shower or reveal parties, So I think that,
Yes.
we need to have more of an equalizer about sharing news, and some things are not to be celebrated and things are, more to be thought about and to mourn and to feel more connected to each other through these
Yeah, I think that
stories.
yeah, I think that's definitely like a good point. Especially now, I think as our generation, the people that have been like on social media as like these early adopters, like everyone is now having babies and growing their family, and it's amazing. I love watching it. I love seeing everyone be happy and create these little new life forces that are going to take on our future. But not everything is all sunshine and glitter.
Mm.
And that's what social media is usually like. It's always about, look, I got married, look, I did this, look, I got that. But there's so many struggles that are in between. Like, no one would have known that I was struggling with a miscarriage while I was getting married. Like, I literally had the miscarriage 2.5 weeks before the wedding, and I smiled all day through it and
Mm-hmm.
planning it. And then at night, I was crying, but no one would have known that. And I think it's important to share that transparency and just be open and let people know that life isn't always perfect, even though it seems like it might be.
Yeah, it's a huge roller coaster, and you'll just have to hold on.
Yeah.
So we wanted to just do a recap of all the amazing takeaways, that the informative information that you and Chris so thoughtfully spoke about. You know, I really liked about you guys, healing as a couple, like the key takeaway there. I loved how you guys talked about journaling, how important journaling was for you and Chris. I loved how you guys spoke about speaking with your family members, speaking with your mother and understanding that even her grandma went through a lot of loss, about their own experiences. Also, enjoying small pleasures was very important. Doing some retail therapy, hitting the thrift stores, that's really important. Also, a key takeaway, getting into nature. I think nature is one of the number one thing as humans, as we're city dwellers. So getting into nature is super important. Also, a key takeaway, allowing each other to feel, and just honesty and communication was such a good key takeaway for healing for you guys, right?
Yes, definitely. Just being honest and not being shy, or not holding anything back, and just receiving that, also speaking honestly and receiving honestly as well, without judgment, and trying to understand your partner is super, super important. And I think to touch on like the small pleasures, that's going to be different for each person, but you have to decide what that is for you. What does that mean for you? Like for me, I tend to live a restrictive lifestyle where I don't buy certain things because it's in plastic or in packaging or whatever. But after the miscarriage, that day I just needed to just like have like a day where I just did whatever it was that like I needed to feel better about myself, even if that meant jeopardizing my ethics or quote unquote morals, right? So like I went to Lassen's and I bought everything in plastic that I don't normally buy. It's like I just needed to have a day for myself. So determine what that means for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Also, some key takeaways as, community wise, or just being around your friends and family. You guys had some really key takeaways that I really I really learned from was, just actually being supportive and, if someone that has a miscarriage, not diminishing their grief or loss, kind of over, how would you say that? I guess overshadow their experience by adding in more advice that they might not want to hear,
Yes. Yeah. I think
allowing,
yeah,
yeah.
I think a good example of that is, let's say, I think a common answer when you tell someone you've had a miscarriage is, well, at least it happened like early on. And I think that diminishes someone's grief. That tells them, well, at least it happened early on, so you shouldn't grieve for that long. But that's not true. Whether it happens at whatever time it happens, it's a really difficult experience to go through. And by telling someone something like that, you are diminishing their grief and just not allowing them to really open up to you and really tell you how they're feeling. Because at that point, when someone told me that, I kind of just went into my cocoon and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to talk to this person about it anymore, because now I feel like they're just going to be like, well, it only happened at 6 weeks, or it only happened at 12 weeks, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some great advice, Liz. And also just being able to hold space for each other, just being there to listen, being there to, hug, being there just to be part of that safe space that you can give a friend or family member. And I really love sharing your experiences with others. I think that that's been such a good thing for you guys to do, being able to share with your family and friends, things like that.
Mhm. Yeah, super. It was super, super helpful. Laura was super helpful. Laura talked to me a lot. I had other friends that when I did tell them, they brought me like fresh sourdough, and my roommate and Corinne brought me, magpies, and Laura pitched in for that too. And just those little special things that people do for you are really meaningful, and really just show you that you have like a supportive system, and that you get from sharing your story with people. So I think community is really important.
Yeah. And I overall just really like the conversation you guys had, and also coming from a male's perspective, because I feel like you do hear a lot coming from a women's perspective, but just like hearing Chris's like thought process and like his supportiveness was really refreshing to hear. And I think I would love to hear more of coming from a male's perspective and like how they feel, because they're not like actually like carrying a child or like going through that whole birthing experience, but they say that men are very connected anyways, like, so,
Mhm.
but that's really nice. So I'm glad that Chris had his 2 cents and how he's dealing with everything. So that was really special.
Yeah, I think it's important to hear the male side of this experience too, because like you said, they are going through a different type of grief, and they probably aren't talking about it, because I haven't really heard too many men speak about this. So it's nice. It's nice to hear Chris's side, and even see some of his friends open up to him about their past miscarriages. Like he had some friends that were like, man, I went through something like that too. And they had never talked about that. And so in themselves, male on male, men on men, they're healing themselves, which is so beautiful. So
Hmm.
it's a great thing to see.
Yeah. Well, I commend you, Liz and Chris, for, sharing the story. It's, I mean, it was hard to listen to it, honestly, because I haven't gone through something like that, but it kind of helped me prepare, if anything like that were to happen in the future, if I
Yeah.
ever want to grow a family, or if you have any other friends that have been through miscarriage, maybe share this episode with them so they could take some key pointers and how to heal as a couple and some really cool takeaways. But overall, this has been such a great episode, and I'm just so thankful that you guys got to share this. So thank you, Liz
Well,
and
thank you.
Chris.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening all the way through. I echo what Laura said. If you had a friend that's gone through a miscarriage, please share this with them. They might be struggling with something. I know that on the anniversary of my miscarriages, I always have like a deeper sense of sadness. So you never know when they might be struggling, and this might help them just through it. So love you guys so much. Thank you for
Yeah.
listening.
Thank you guys. And be sure to like leave a comment on Plant Like Things on Instagram if you got to hear this episode. Give them some love or some feedback. I mean, they'd love to hear it because yeah, they put a lot of work and energy into this episode. So
Yes.
yeah, be sure to listen in again for the next episode of the Conscious Kitchen podcast. And we love y'all. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Tune into the next one. See you soon.